on BBC Video and DVD, and their original radio series is available on BBC Audio Cassette.
Laugh through your tears. The last part of the last fast show ever. Plus, never mind the Buzzcocks. Christmas comedy tomorrow from 9 on BBC Two.
Tony, Swiss, Tony. Thank you, Paul.
What exactly is a hootenanny?
Yes, I know exactly what it is.
I believe it's a cross between a goat and an owl.
I think it's one of those. No. Couldn't be sure. My mate got eaten by one.
I think it's a grandmother that plays a trumpet.
They're nasty.
Where they come from, it's a woman's private parts.
All will be revealed on New Year's Eve, 5 minutes to midnight, on BBC Two.
It's now on BBC Two, and 1001 Ways to Blow Up a Kitchen Appliance.
Good evening, and I hope you've had a very happy Christmas. I hope you like your new jumper. I hope your aftershave hasn't melted your face off. And I hope you managed to find a shop selling batteries. But now it's time for some fun. If I may liken my chat show this year to a box of chocolates, then tonight's programme has had all the marzipan taken out. You can relive the hazelnut cluster moment when I put Wales in the microwave. The crunchy praline experience of Jamie Oliver's food catapult. The luxurious truffle sensation of Martin Clunes's slippers. And of course we journey to the soft, chewy centre of Francis Rossi's drug-addled nose. So sit down, relax, and turn down your jumper as we begin with the rather sticky nougat that is William Hague. Now, when you were 13 years old, you had a subscription to Hansard at the local newsagent. By the time you were 14, you'd memorised every MP, his seat, and his majority. Was this a bird puller?
It's a fair question, I think.
Well, depends what sort of bird you were looking for.
It's probably okay with a great crested grebe.
Well, you should just be thankful there aren't as many photographs of you doing whatever you were doing when you were 14 or 15 as well as what I was doing when I was 14.
Actually, that's a good point, because I've never wanted to, stand for office in any way. But I look around now, and I do worry that politicians, if they've led blameless lives in order to achieve high office, hope to achieve high office, then they can't know that much about anything, really.
But does it look like, when you look at the House of Commons, does it look like a bunch of people who've led blameless lives? Do you actually look there as electing the speaker? Oh yeah, there are 659 people who've led blameless lives.
Well, we've got some pictures. We've got some pictures of some of your shadow cabinet here. I can't put names. Forgive me for that. But it doesn't look like any of those have ever slept in a hedge.
One of the two see them earlier in the morning before those pictures are taken.
One of them might have smoked a hedge, perhaps, but... You won Wimbledon 3 times, you won the US Open 4 times, you got 77 singles titles, 77 doubles titles. And so far as I've been able to work out, your training regime consisted of hanging out with Mick Jagger and Jack Nicholson and eating cheeseburgers.
That's why I only won 7 majors.
Was that true? You weren't one of these up at the crack of dawn?
It is true. I was on, I think you have it here, the Haagen-Dazs diet. Which is a little different, but I train harder than people realize. But I did have some positive feedback from the 2 people you mentioned that, in the mid-'80s when people were demanding that I be suspended for a year because of my outrageous behavior on the court, that I would see them and they would say, whatever you do, don't change anything. So to me, it was like, am I going to listen to these superstars, Mick Jagger or Jack Nicholson or someone like that, or am I going to listen to these clowns at Wimbledon? These old association, old farts, if you will. Can you say that on... You can say
about breasts. You see, women have got it into their heads that their bosoms are somehow mammary glands, that they have something to do with feeding babies. No, they don't. Breasts are for men. There are comforters, there are noo-noos. Look, these are mammary glands, look. On a dog, they're deliberately unattractive. They're hairy and they're on its stomach, which is where yours will be if you don't stop breastfeeding.
Did you know that actually when we were Neanderthals, in your case last week, sex was always done in the doggy position, for want of a better word. Now, when we matured and we got larger brains and we became more secure and we looked at each other during sex, women actually developed... He never looks, obviously, during sex, but women developed breasts to emulate buttocks, because buttocks were originally the visual stimulus. So actually what you are fantasising about, these are buttocks.
When you're lying on a beach and a girl walks by and she's had silicone enhancements...
Yes.
How do you feel?
Terrible.
Ah, we're getting...
Terrible.
Why?
Because when you go topless on the beach and you think, yeah, I've got quite good boobs. And then suddenly this sort of silicone-enhanced textbook pair go by, and most men go, who cares that they're plastic? Who cares? They look fantastic. And so all the women with natural breasts all sort of sit there going, oh, God, I feel inadequate. And you're looking at me puzzled, but let me just say two words to you, knob implant. Right? Now, if they invented that, right, and you were sitting on the beach and some man went past with, rather well-packed pair of trunks, you would feel inadequate. You probably do anyway, but I don't know.
Well, you're saying that you'd be impressed by a big knob?
No, the only... No.
You just said you're not impressed by big knobs now.
That's not big.
Was? You had it out last night, I gather.
I did get my cock out on a TV, but I suspect they'll, if not cut it out, certainly try and shoot round it.
Tell us how it happened.
Well, that was on They Think It's All Over. They have Fill the Sports. We have to come out and we have to fill the sports, and we really don't know who it's going to be, and we really can't see. And we had the guy who won the Olympic clay pigeon shooting thing. Pull, that guy. And so they were firing little sponge clay pigeon things, but they were hard. I'm telling you, I don't know what sort of sponge that was, but it was... I think they'd put some, stones inside the sponge, rather than centimetre. And I got hit in the face several times. Oh, how they laughed. And I got hit once, full in the knackers. I mean, and, as you know, I'm carrying a package down there,
He is.
Yeah, I am. It's a well-known showbiz fact.
Yeah, no, I've heard that. The biggest...
So I'm standing proud, boom, I get hit with this hard object. It hurt.
Yeah.
And I suspect there was some swelling, possible bruising going on down there. Tried to turn this into an amusing anecdote during the show. Nick Hancock refused to accept my words as proof. I decided to show him. And the look on his face, well, there was a look, first of all, of fear. Then repulsion. Then envy and desire.
We know from the adverts that these days ice cream is no longer food, it's foreplay. When things are getting hot, you don't reach for a condom, you reach for a tub of raspberry ripple. But what if you run out? You've got all the ingredients, you've got the raspberries here, and you plop them into a pot like that, and you've got the delicious double cream which goes in, and then because you were breastfed, you better have some sugar, and then you mix it up, it goes lovely and pink, but if you wait for that to freeze over, your wife will too. Even if you try stirring her every 20 minutes. So what you need is some liquid nitrogen. As you can see, I like to keep a bit handy. Now all you do is slip into a pair of protective goggles and some nice big thick gloves, though if you've been having a particularly good time with your wife, you may be wearing this stuff already. And then bring it out, make sure you close the fridge door because that stuff obviously evaporates very quickly. Now we simply undo the lid, Ooh, it's steaming, and being careful to stir at the same time, pour it in. There we go. Now that really is Frankenstein food. Marvellous, that's coming along beautifully. I'll just slip out of the protective clothing, and I think, clear the smoke. Yes, marvellous. Let's see what we've got. Ice cream. In the last season, there was that time when you, right in front of me actually, at the British Grand Prix, spun while doing about 3 miles an hour. What do you say to yourself at a time like that?
Bollocks.
Do you think Schumacher was a better driver than you?
I think he's a very good driver, absolutely. You know, I mean, I think there were times when we were right up there. But I mean, how do you compare? I mean, he's not even as old now as I was when I started racing against him. So he was like quite considerably younger than me, and I think that gives you a little bit of an advantage. You know, it's different situations. I don't know how you can. No, he's not as good as me. I'm not.
Well, you're probably familiar with this. It's a foldaway bicycle. The idea being that you take it out of the boot of your car and then ride it to work. Great. But if you have a car, why do you need a bike? Well, let's see. Today, cycling is supposed to be easy because they've built 5,000 miles of cycle lanes. Sounds wonderful, but there is a problem. Honestly, what is the point of having 5,000 miles of cycle lanes if they're not joined up? Aha! Well, you see, the thing is, cyclists are allowed to ride in one of Mr. Prescott's bus lanes. Payback time. Shut up! Going as fast as I want to. I might pull over in a minute for no good reason. See how you like it. Let's see if we can unravel the complexities of running a railway. You've got a train, right? You know what time it'll set off. You know how far it's got to go. So you know when it'll get there. How in God's name do you mess that up? Let's take it back again, okay? Okay, see if we encounter any problems. I mean, you can't really get lost, can you? And why do they only ever have one carriage? I mean, through the night, that's fine, it's all quiet. But then, every morning at 7 a.m., they're taken completely by surprise when this happens. Where did they all come from? Well, here's a message for train company senior management. If you get off the golf course for 5 minutes, you might notice that the roads are all covered with bus lanes. We have to use the train. I mean, I know at the moment, okay, there is an excuse for things going wrong. The reason why this train can't set off is because the driver of it is on this train, which is stuck because of this flood. It started out as just a puddle. But then one morning, without warning, the water level rose alarmingly because an enormous freak of nature stood in it. What I'd like you to do is see if you can hit the lens, okay, on that, with that, when I've given you a bullet, not yet, while we're driving by, all right?
I'll give it a go. Right.
I wouldn't rather shoot him. He was the one, I should explain, ladies and gentlemen, who turned up to the British Grand Prix, didn't he, and said,
Well, someone asked him who he'd like to win the race, and he said, Damien Hill.
Damien Hill. The number of the beast. Right, we'll just back up. Should have known your car wasn't 666. Look how fast it goes. That's the ticket. Right. Good long run up. Ready?
Have you loaded me up?
No, I'll give you a bullet. Right, do that. I have to pull that back. No, it's back. Now, don't put your thumb on the trigger. It's a very, very sensitive trigger.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Here we go. We'll speed up. Right, now go, 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 go.
Oh,
Slithering idiot! We'll go again. Put that in there. Right, ready? Here we go again. Yeah, a bit nearer. Damon!
I have got an interesting question for you. Do you remember the floods last week?
Yeah.
Do you remember those shots of Uckfield?
Yeah.
You may have spotted that there weren't many cars in the streets then.
Were they underwater?
Yes.
They were.
Now, the interesting thing for you is, as someone who cares passionately about spending as much time as you possibly can in a car, I'm not sure what's wrong with your psyche, but there's something going on there.
Yeah.
And you need to be in a car for as long as you can. Now, what you need to understand, Jeremy, is climate change is really troublesome for you because you're going to have streets full of water and cars don't work in streets full of water.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And the change of river management round Uxfield's got nothing to do with it.
Oh, no, it's got a bit to do with it.
I think it's got quite a lot to do with it. They bug it up with all the river around there, and that's what causes it to flood every year.
I agree with you.
It's nothing to do with global warming,
Yes,
then.
it is something to do with global warming.
River management or global warming?
It's both. You see, you've got to hold two ideas in your brain at the same time, Jeremy. Hard, but go for it. Go for it.
Okay, let me ask you this. Are you ever happy? Do you ever wake up in the morning and think, I've got healthy children, got lots of friends, it's a lovely day, I'm so happy? Or do you have to wake up and think, what can I have angst about today?
I have to give you this one, Jeremy. You have, at last, struck upon the Achilles heel of the Green Movement, which is...
You're miserable as sin.
They are a bunch of miserable gits. I have to admit, it is true.
Have you ever wondered if you could use matchsticks, silver foil, and a melon to make a finger food rocket launcher? I have. Let me show you what got me thinking. If you take a match, okay, and then wrap it up like so in silver foil, you end up, if you do it nice and tight, with something like this, okay? Now, if you simply prop that in a pair of pliers like that, okay, and apply some heat, now, quite good, I admit, but with a bigger number of matches. And then if you got some kind of big cocktail stick, shoved it in the middle and wrapped them all round, yeah? And then put the silver foil round that, you may have enough power to put a plum rose sausage on Mars. Let's see, I've got one here that we made earlier, okay? We shove it into a melon, like so, okay? And then we apply the napalm nibbles, all right? A little bit of pepper on there, and a sausage, and some pineapple, and a tomato, and another sausage, okay? And then you did kind of lots of those in the melon. You'd end up with something... the Intercontinental Ballistic Canapé. Perfectly straightforward, okay? When your guests arrive, you pop it on the hob and then tell them to stand back with their mouths open. Shall we see if it works? Here we go then, gas on, and I'm now going to wander over here to sort of mingle with my friends. There we are. Nice, leopard.
Lovely.
Let's have a look.
Lovely.
They're the elasticated ones.
Only at the front.
Yeah.
Where's the elastic on those?
They're good. These are zip-up. Yeah, no, Doncaster Market, £1.99. It was this or a house. These would be warmer. Some sherry?
Oh, lovely, just a schooner.
I think that's a splendid.
But there is an age thing when you suddenly go, actually, it's not that bad, is it?
I haven't had any, actually, since yesterday.
Had a row at the top of the glass, Jeremy?
Really?
Thanks very much.
Oh, lovely. What about hangovers? How are you suffering worse with those these days?
Well, to be honest, I'm not looking into them. You know, I mean, I'm not putting myself in their way. A little bit of telly and then off to bed.
Really? Because I've noticed with hangovers, when you're 17, they're gone by lunchtime. I mean, now when I'm 40, they'll last till you're 50. But that's true. When you come up to London, you'll find out in the morning.
It's free.
How is it being 40? Are you miserable?
I don't mind it so much. I didn't really notice the change so much, although just the ageing process generally I'm aware of. Like when I stand up and hurry now, my knees make the noise. You know when you try and connect to the internet? And you get that I get that noise and it goes on for about as long. And obviously things have dropped. My balls are much lower than they used to be. And it was last Christmas we had a kitten in the house and I was bending over. We had a problem with the boiler upstairs and I went to fix it. And I was bending down into an uncommonly small space and the kitten, seeing something dangling, obviously, assumed this was a treat I'd bought for her. Sadly, she's no longer with us. I've still got the lucky paw down there, though.
Well, not yet 40, actually. You're younger than I am. And the fact is that I can call you William without feeling too bad about that. I would never have called Mrs. Thatcher William. I'd call her Sir, I think. Do you think you're old enough to be Prime Minister?
Yes. Yes. After all, it's not whether you're old enough, it's whether you're good enough, isn't it? Whether you're old enough should never be the question. Although probably it becomes a more reassuring question for everybody to be asked as you and I go on getting older now.
Yeah, well, worryingly so. You haven't crossed the threshold yet. But that's next year, isn't it? Have you got a party planned, big 40th?
Oh, I thought, a new home, a new address, maybe a slightly bigger car. Depends whether the election coincides with my birthday.
That's true enough. What would you do, actually, being from Rotherham with number 10? Pebble dash it, perhaps? According to recent figures from the National Office of Statistics, 400,000 people have moved from the north to the southeast in the last 10 years. And if that carries on, everyone will be down here by the year 2040. Now, obviously, there are some housing issues to be addressed, but more importantly, coming to the southeast from somewhere like Newcastle will be a massive culture shock. So to help out, I've prepared this flip chart. Let's talk about clothes first of all. This is a coat. It's a bit like one of your T-shirts, only the sleeves are longer and the material's thicker. I know if Scott of the Antarctic had been a Geordie, he'd have walked to the South Pole in his underpants. But I promise, you can wear a garment like this in the South and no one will think you're a homosexual. Okay, now, getting about. This photograph was taken on the London Underground, and as you can see, no one is speaking to one another. They're reading what we call newspapers. I know you think this couldn't possibly be a newspaper. Well, this one isn't, actually. But this, you think it's far too big. But that's so you can hide behind it. You see, if you do establish some eye contact with someone on a train, they will think you're a homosexual. It's important to stress, though, that in the South, there's nothing wrong with being gay. In fact, to get on, it's almost compulsory, really. Moustaches. Bad idea, really. You get guacamole stuck in them. Or, as you call it up north, mushy peas. What is the worst thing you've ever put in your mouth?
I was at boarding school, I can't say. It was Icelandic. Christmas Eve dinner, because an awful lot of Europe eat their big dinner on Christmas Eve, and in Iceland they take skate. Now there's a bit of technical information you need to know here. There's that skate don't have bones; they have cartilage, and when cartilage rots, it turns to urea, which is what you think it is.
Piss. Yeah.
And they rot skate until it smells like a Turkish under fives lavatory. And then they boil it, and it's 58 degrees below, and they have to open all the windows. And then they eat it with boiled potatoes, and it is the single most disgusting thing that any human puts in his mouth without a gun behind his head or someone holding his children.
So how come then that I'm standing before you today, trimmed down to a racing 14 stone? Well, it's easy. What you do is follow the New Labour health and safety food scare diet. They print it in the papers every day. Now, what you do is you start out by cutting out beef on the bone. This is worse than cocaine, heroin, nuclear waste all put together. Lamb? No, that's got BSE too. Pork, that has swine fever. Game, that's full of lead. So, chicken then. And no, that's cruel, and the exit producers will give you salmonella. And don't you dare take any of this with a pinch of salt, because that'll give you high blood pressure. And I'm not finished yet. Hummus, very popular in Islington, that'll give you E. coli. Cheese will give you listeria, tap water makes you impotent, and taramasalata makes you Greek. You can't eat any food anymore. So what can you do with it? Well, in medieval times, they used to build a trebuchet, sort of catapult, which they'd use to fling the diseased produce into the enemy's castle. Well, there is the enemy's castle. Look, the man from health and safety in his office. Now, we need someone to turn all this diseased, hateful food into a selection of bombs. And I can think of no one better qualified for the job than Jamie Oliver! Perfectly straightforward, Jamie. Okay, what I'd like you to do is forget taste. Forget text. You forget everything you learned in your cookery programs and restaurants and so on. Make it for aerodynamic efficiency. We've got to bomb that little sod over there. So, ready? This is for not letting us have a firework party on New Year's Eve. Ready? Firework! Sorry, that got him. No, I've got an even better idea. Look what we've got in the fridge, everybody. A trifle. You want to have a go?
Go on then, mate.
And you're going to try and crack America now, aren't you?
Not really. No, I mean, like, there's always this thing about, like, when you get popular, they always send you to America. But
you've been.
They love the program, but I don't think they really understand what I'm talking about. Well, so even to the point where, like, on the BBC, we're blessed with like half an hour, and that's a program, and you don't have adverts coming on. But in America, there's adverts like every 7 minutes. So every time there's an advert, it comes up and says like, pucker means, nice one means, but then it started getting like, and like wicked means, and then it started getting really freaky things like fantastic means, and I was like, fantastic. You don't know what fantastic means?
Well, they wouldn't in America, because nothing is. Over the summer, I saw a film called U-571, okay? It was about this American submarine that captured a German Enigma decoding machine from a U-boat in the war. True story. Except for one tiny detail. The event actually happened in May 1941, 7 months before America joined the war. Now, I admit the Americans did eventually capture a decoding machine, but that was on June the 8th, 1944, just after D-Day. By that point, the Germans were giving them away in car boot sales. It was, in fact, a British ship which captured the first Enigma machine, but that doesn't really fit with the rulebook. It was drawn up by the eminent American historian, Professor Mel Gibson. For some reason, he seems to absolutely hate the English. He did us up like a kipper in Braveheart, and again in The Patriot. And when he needed a South African to play the baddie in Lethal Weapon 2, did he go to South Africa? Oh, of course not. There's no one even remotely bad enough in Bloemfontein, so he came to Kensington and cast Joss Ackland instead. I've got a list here of the films that Professor Mel is currently considering. Scott of the Antarctic. This is about Captain Billy Bob Scott and how he got to the pole before Amundsen, the wicked dog-beating Yorkshireman. The Battle of Trafalgar. How the Statue of Liberty was saved from the British Armada by Admiral Willie Nelson. There's a remake of Gandhi here, Honey, I Shrunk the Empire. And Columbus, the inspiring story of how the great American explorer Chris Columbus sailed across the Atlantic and discovered... Yes, well, even Professor Gibson's going to have a problem with that one. When you came to live here, what struck you as the biggest difference?
Americans think they'll live forever, and Brits pretty much know sooner or later they're going to die. And that's the thing, like when you read obituaries in Britain, you know, everybody dies peacefully or suddenly.
Well, how do they die in America?
Spectacularly, sometimes. But I mean, it's just a thing that people will dwell on it here, you know, and every day how they list 3 famous people, you know. Every day in the Times there'll be 3 famous dead people. Every day. Which is just eerie. It can't always be 3 dead famous. It's not that big a country, right? Either they're making up some of these people, or they're bumping people off just to fill the papers.
I've watched a great many Vietnam War movies, and in every one, you win all the battles. How did you lose?
You know how many Vietnam veterans it takes to screw in a light bulb?
How many?
You don't know?
No.
Of course you don't, because you weren't there, man!
Oh. Now, as I'm sure you've read recently, the British Army's guns don't work. It's also true to say that some of our jet fighters are flying around with concrete in their nose cones rather than radar. And now, this week, our entire fleet of nuclear-powered hunter-killer submarines has broken down. It has. And all of this means that it's very hard at the moment for the armed forces to guarantee the defence of the realm. It's a big area to protect, and really, something has to go. The big question is, what do we do with it? Well, now look, the simple fact of the matter is that the Welsh were allowed to vote on whether they had a Welsh Assembly, so let's vote here on whether we put Wales in the microwave. All those in favour, raise your hands. And all those against? Look, I'm sorry, mate, we're outvoted. You do realise what you've done, don't you? I mean, this will be no more Tom Jones, no more Manic Street Preachers, no more Anthony Hopkins, no more male voice choirs. Yeah, you've got a point, actually. Let's just put that in. And anyway, look, if you're going to complain, don't phone the BBC or write to Points of View. Come on, you're angry. Write directly to the person responsible. And be direct. None of this, sorry to bother you, I know you're a busy man. We're not busy. We come here for half an hour a week and read an auto cue. This week, I had a gem, okay? This is textbook stuff. comes from Wales. And it's from a man who's plainly angry that I removed his beloved country from the map a couple of weeks ago and put it in the microwave. Let me read it to you, okay? Dear face. You and that's good, okay? He has my attention. And he goes on. Why don't you come round to my house, you English if you think you're hard enough. Well, very kind invitation, but no. I would just say, though, that since you've written such a good letter, I do feel duty-bound to explain why we put Wales in the microwave. Very simple. It's because Scotland wouldn't fit. You were elected MP for somewhere Scottish when you were 23.
It's part of that map that you just chucked away a few minutes ago. That's a large part of that.
It's gone. It's okay. Scotland's not watching tonight. I don't know why. They've taken us off the air up there, which is why we can do pretty much what we want.
They've got taste, that's why.
Did he use this, okay, as a metaphor?
Oh,
this is Mrs. Thatcher's full-fat whole milk Conservative Party, okay? And this is Michael Foot's skimmed milk Labour Party, which left you plenty of space in the middle with your semi-skimmed Liberals, right? But now Tony's moved his skimmed milk to here, and you're sort of left as the most left-wing party in Britain with sort of nowhere to go. Would that be fair, do you think?
Have you always been an intellectual?
I think the skill is to bring it down to a level I can understand it, and
Well,
they've
it's
been
pretty
doing that
clear
to me
you've
in the
done
office.
that. Pretty
Do
clear
you
you've
think
done-
that's fair enough?
No, that's a complete and utter nonsense.
Well, wouldn't
do
it have been better for you if
do you
Labour
think-
had stayed here and you'd gone there, because then you'd have been elected?
Well, but then, you see, we could have gone there, but if they had gone here...
Which they have.
And then we'd done a pincer movement round there, it would all be perfectly clear, wouldn't it? I mean, it'd just be, it's stupid. Why have all these intelligent people in politics not thought of it like this before?
Maybe because John Prescott's there.
No. Because if John Prescott had anything to do with it, this is what would happen. Yes, let's take them back. John Prescott had anything to do with it. First of all, they'd all be jammed up with each other. And secondly, they wouldn't be moving at all.
No.
That's the whole point.
And he'd have drunk them all, particularly the whole fat one. The rat. The rat is one of man's biggest enemies. So far, it's killed 137 million people. That's more than Stalin, Hitler, and Pol Pot put together. And today, it's getting stronger and bigger and more vicious. But we can't kill it. Because the Metropolitan Channel 4 organic animal rights, sentimental cyclist, wishy-washy, nut cutlet twit liberals think it's inhumane. Well, it's a damn good job The Guardian hadn't been invented when we had the Black Death. Oh, look, little rats coming off the ships from China. Sweet. Don't put it in a trap. Don't break its neck. I'll take it home and give it some organic Roquefort, walnut and parsley Islington cheese. Of course, I'm fighting a losing battle here. So what I've come up with is a trap that gives the rat, or Suage maximus, to give it its Latin name, a sort of Hindu send-off. Perfectly simple. Let me explain. You attach some matchsticks here to the bit that flicks over and kills the rat. And what I've done is put some sandpaper along the side. So the match is light, and then this bit at the end is a fire lighter. So, shall we see if it works? Yay! Ready? Whoa! Look at that! If you go up to the traditional heartlands up north, where I'm from, I think they'd be a bit annoyed to find that the person supposed to be representing their interests was wasting his time chaining himself to the Norwegian embassy just because they shot a whale.
I actually feel very strongly about this because I think slaughtering whales is a crime, an absolute crime, and the Japanese and the Norwegians are doing. There's a moratorium on commercial whaling. And the IWC, International Whaling Commission, has had that in for years. But the Japanese and the Norwegians get round this by having something called scientific whaling. And it's marvellous that they go out there because they want to find out how many numbers there are. And how come all that scientific whaling product ends up on plates in Tokyo restaurants? I mean, it's just a complete sham. And I think the Japanese are bloody disgraceful to actually maintain whaling. You know?
So you've never eaten it?
Not knowingly, dear boy. I mean,
it is delicious. That's the trouble.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I had some in Iceland the other day. It is the most fantastic meat, really.
If you want to eat something exotic, why don't you bite your own private parts off? I mean,
obviously, if I could reach, I'd do something more interesting than bite them off. Now, I used to be a travelling salesman, which meant I spent most of my life in 2-star hotels. Now, 1 star, okay, that's fine. You know where you are. You get a navvy in the other bed. And an interesting rash. 4 stars, fine too, because you get a porn channel, which is normally 2 hours of a bloke with a mullet doing this. But you don't get that in the sort of hotel that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the sort of place where all they care about is that you don't walk off with the key. All right? So, you will remember to hand it in, won't you? When you leave. Oh. And this, of course, is the sort of room you get, okay? There's usually tea and coffee making facilities. So, you check there's some water in the kettle, plug it in, and have a brew, okay? But how do you know it was water? How do you know a previous guest didn't pee in it? I always do. Oh, come on, guys. Last thing you do before checking out, you set the alarm for 3:50 in the morning, kipper in the trouser press, and then pee in the kettle. So the tea's out, and so I'm afraid is the TV. And there we are. There's BBC 1, BBC 2, ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5. He's still at it! Then, of course, there's the jet engine in your bathroom. It's actually the fan which comes on when you turn on the lights. Ready? But when you turn the light off, it stays on until dawn. Or until you go next door and hit it with a hammer. The only place in a hotel like this where you can get some peace and quiet is in the dining room. This is because, on average, 78% of people in provincial hotel dining rooms are dead. It might be tempting to go there to get away from the noise, but don't. You see, this is the sort of place where they still think fruit juice is a starter. So, what do you do to while away the time? Well, let's be honest, shall we, okay? You're a man, you're alone, you're in a room. How long's it going to take? Well, don't. It's dangerous. These sheets are nylon, right? Which means that after a few minutes you'll be a pulsating mass of static electricity. And nylon makes you sweat, so you'll be all wet. You're a time bomb. Okay? You put 1 foot on the acrylan carpet and poof! Okay, this amateur footage was taken just 10 minutes after sales rep Colin Welbeck checked into his room at the Polished Bishop Hotel in Hemel Hempstead. Let's just see what happens, okay? I don't suppose you ever had the need of a porn channel, really, in your hotel rooms, did you?
Telly de toss, as we call it.
Telly de toss?
De toss, yeah. It's so expensive, though, you know, just for a...
For a what?
Sorry. I mean, some of these, you know, the five-star hotels, they charge 13 quid, and I mean, it's a lot of money, isn't it? when really you can lay there and you've got your own thoughts, haven't you?
You have, but you've also got the
Well, a lot
two
of
free
us have.
minutes. Two free minutes at the
beat
beginning.
clock. We always try and beat the clock.
Beat the clock.
You know, you're presented with your bills in the morning on the bus, and we used to say, you know, I beat the clock, I beat the clock. And those who pay for it, you know. But they are, in fact, aren't they?
Yeah. So that was beat the clock.
Yeah, but it's not nearly so much fun, is it, when you're against the clock? You know, you get onto your vinegar stroke far too quickly.
And then it goes, you now have to pay for
yes,
this.
that's the thing. And you're bright red and sweating. And it's not on, really.
And before they had videos, of course, you used to take a projector around the world.
Yeah, we had an old black and white sort of projector, which we used to, in fact, put across from one hotel to a wall opposite.
In Bielefeld,
And,
right?
yeah.
Where?
Bielefeld, in Germany.
In Germany. It didn't matter in Germany, did it? I mean,
Well, and then
wouldn't do it in
broadcast
England.
your pornographical
Yeah,
material
on the
onto
wall opposite.
Well, we were too busy, you know, we'd come back from a gig and we'd all go off to our own rooms and then come back with a towel each. We're very clean boys. And we'd come with a towel each and then we'd shine on the white curtains and clean through to the building across. Can I tell him the story you think about?
Well, the knack was, you see, that everybody would look up and see that, and they wouldn't look up at our window because we're all in the window. They're all going like that, and we're up there, you see. They got bloody pigeons.
His nose fell off.
Yeah,
Did your
no,
nose-
out. There's a difference between I beg to differ. Fell out.
How did it fall out?
Well, it used to, yeah, because if anybody that's done that stuff knows the nose bleeds and whatever, and I used to do vitamin E up the nose and stuff just so it could do more in the morning. And when you got in the shower, there is dunk. And obviously I realised some years later there was bits of nose.
Really falling out?
Yeah. Well, you saw the cotton bud trick, I did it for...
Come on.
I'm going off.
Just look the other way. Just, you look down here. Just
I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, well...
It makes you want a wallet, you know?
I'm not sure I want to do this.
This is the biggest anti-drugs thing I've ever... Anyone thinking of taking up cocaine...
Look into the camera and say,
Wait
don't
a minute.
do it. Oh, don't. It's horrible. I can't agree with you.
No, I can't be dealing with that.
All right, boy. Anybody fancy a line?
You don't even sneeze.
What? There's none left to sneeze with, is there?
Is it really 14 pints?
Do you mean you never could?
No, we were trying to work it out. I genuinely can't remember how many I've managed in a day, but I mean, Rotherham, 14's not much, I admit. In Rotherham, you know, up north, there is that.
There you are.
14,
You know, we're from the same area.
Was it really 14?
Well, not every day.
No, but...
If I did that now, it would kill me.
Now, there is one aspect of government policy I must touch on, because I do think that it will be the issue that will probably decide the next election. The M4 bus lane. If you're elected, will you get rid of it?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can blow the little bastard back to China. Ready? Woo. Ready? Okay. Ready? Here's the burglar. Ready? Let's come round to my house. Close the little door there, and ready to run. Turn it on. You see, this I think is the good thing about this show, because you get handy hints that you don't get on Delia Smith.
Highlights from the Glastonbury Festival here on BBC Two at 5 to 1 after Steve Martin casts his private eye over Rachel Ward in the film that launched 1,000 advert spoofs. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid next.
Pay your last respects. What will his journey into the new kingdom be like?
Prick him with a pin and stick him under Mum's bed. Little boy.
It's all dirty, grey and wool. You won't tell my wife, will you?
Yes. Fun at the Funeral Parlour, Monday at 10:30 on BBC Choice, the entertainment channel for digital viewers.
Life's a game of strip poker. Shall we play?
She hates me. Never trust a man with woman's hips.
You're so vulgar! Oh, don't start.
I feel sick.
So, this is a den of vice.
Really?
What? Oh, daft.
3 unconventional heroes.
What a wonderfully wicked life you lead.
3 network television premieres.
Now that is what I call entertainment.
Wild, Gods and Monsters, and Shooting Fish. Starts with Wild, Friday at 9 on BBC Two.
A classic spoof film noir now on BBC Two, splicing together Steve Martin and a host of Hollywood greats, from Joan Crawford and Jimmy Cagney to Bogey and Betty Davis. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.